Have you ever found yourself typing something like LOL or OMG, in a text or maybe an email, or even saying it out loud, and then you pause for a second and wonder, where did these things actually come from? They seem so modern.
Right. Or even bigger picture, how much this whole digital world, the internet, social media,
Yeah.
how much it's really fundamentally reshaped how we talk, how
Yeah.
we connect, even how we think about things.
It's a huge question.
It really is,
Yeah.
because we're not just talking about a few new words popping up. It's a fundamental shift in communication itself.
Huh.
The digital age, it didn't just give us new vocab.
Yeah.
It created this whole new linguistic ecosystem. It's changed everything, really, from like the super casual slang to brand new ways of expressing things, right down to the critical tech jargon that actually impacts our safety online.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. And, well, that's exactly what we're doing today in this deep dive. We're going to unpack this incredible and, honestly, often really surprising evolution of language, specifically in the age of the internet and social media. We'll dig into how communication's been totally transformed, what it tells us about our culture, about, different generations, and even why understanding things like cybersecurity terms is just so vital now.
Yeah. And for this deep dive, we've got some really comprehensive sources lined up. We've pulled together a whole collection of articles, some academic research, cultural analyses.
Yeah.
It's a pretty diverse mix.
Good stuff.
So we'll be looking at studies on generational slang, digging into the history of how some of these internet terms actually came about, the huge societal impact of social media on language itself, and even diving into some pretty wild cultural phenomena defining youth today, like Skibidi toilet.
Oh, we're going there. Okay.
We are. It's all part of this journey, right?
Yeah.
Seeing how our words have adapted, how they've spread, how they've picked up entirely new meanings, often in real time. And yeah, often in ways that are genuinely surprising.
Okay, let's kick this off then. And maybe start with a real blast from the past, because this is where it gets really interesting, I think. You might naturally assume, right, that a lot of the abbreviations we use constantly, things like FYI or 10-4, that they were born online, they just feel digital.
Totally. Seems obvious.
But the surprising thing is, nope, many of them have roots that stretch way, way back, long before the internet was even, a concept.
And what's really fascinating here isn't that the internet invented them.
Yeah.
Not at all. It was more like this unbelievable amplifier.
Right.
It took these shortcuts that already existed, maybe from other technologies, and just blasted them out globally, making them part of everyday language, like FYI for your information.
Use it all the time.
Exactly. Emails, texts, memos. It's everywhere. But it actually predates digital stuff by decades. Back in the 1940s, FYI was the actual name of a radio program.
No way.
Yeah, like a news bulletin segment. It gave breaking updates, especially during the war, trying to, curb sabotage efforts in the U.S. It served pretty much the same purpose then as now. Just a quick way to flag important info.
That's incredible. And 10-4, everyone knows that one. Message received, truckers, police in movies.
Or just casually.
Yeah. But that goes back to, 1937? Telecommunications?
That's right. It was part of the 10-code system.
Yeah.
APCO, the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials, developed it. Radio operators used it to quickly signal, yep, got the message, without having to say the whole phrase.
Makes sense, especially over crackly radio.
Exactly. Saving time, saving bandwidth. It was all about efficiency and clarity, even way back then.
Yeah.
Constraints driving innovation,
Absolutely. And then there's AWOL. Absent without leave.
Yeah, the military term.
Right. Originally military comms. Very specific, very serious. Soldiers gone missing without permission. But now.
Now it's totally different. It's become really colloquial, almost lighthearted sometimes.
Totally. Like if your friend isn't texting back, oh, they've gone AWOL.
Exactly. Or you can't find someone at their desk. It just means unresponsive. Or maybe they're off doing something else. That shift from strict military code to just everyday slang, it really shows the journey these terms can take.
So, connecting the dots here, what this tells us about language evolution is pretty significant, right?
I think so.
The internet wasn't necessarily the inventor of these linguistic shortcuts. It was more like a supercharger.
Precisely.
It grabbed these existing terms, often born from needing brevity or clarity in older tech radio, telegraph, whatever, and then just spread them everywhere. Integrated them globally in a way that just wasn't possible before. It sort of democratized them.
That's a great way to put it, democratize them. Because language has always evolved, right? Often pushed by technology or the need for efficiency or just social dynamics. The internet didn't start that pattern.
It just hit the accelerator hard.
Exactly. Turbocharged the whole process. And then as we moved into the really early days of actual digital communication, the 80s, the 90s, that's when we saw this massive boom in new abbreviations, ones specifically designed for that new online world.
Right, like BRB, be right back.
Classic.
It apparently popped up in PC Magazine in the 80s, but it really took off in the 90s chat rooms, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Think about it. Slow dial-up, text only. People typing like mad. You needed a quick way to say, hold on, stepping away, but I'm still here.
Yeah, don't log off.
Exactly. It was a linguistic fix for a tech and social problem. The immediacy demanded it.
And FTW.
For the win. That one feels very internet-y, too.
It does now, but its origins are actually even older. You can trace it back at game show hosts in the 70s.
Seriously?
Yeah, apparently used it as like an exclamation before a big question or reveal, but it really gained traction in the early 2000s, specifically in online gaming communities.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, players doing something to guarantee a win in like Age of Empires or StarCraft or just pulling off something cool, they'd yell FTW. So it jumps from that older context into this new specific digital space and then sort of radiated out into mainstream use.
And FAQ, I mean, frequently asked questions. Every website has one.
Essential now.
But that was coined by a NASA group back in '82 for a mailing list.
Yeah, space mailing list. Their goal was super practical. Just help people find info easier and stop asking the same questions over and over again.
So even back then, they were dealing with information overload.
Absolutely. Already trying to optimize for clarity and flow. This is a problem we're still grappling with today, just, on a much bigger scale.
It really shows that efficiency and clarity have always been major drivers, especially when text was king and, bandwidth wasn't unlimited.
Definitely. And you see it in other terms, too, like LMAO.
Yeah.
That first showed up in 1990 in an online forum for Dungeons & Dragons players.
Really? D&D?
Yep. It just shows how these specific, sometimes niche online groups develop their own shorthand. And similarly, GG, good game, that emerged around 94 with multiplayer games taking off.
The polite sign-off?
Exactly. Win or lose, you type GG. It wasn't just random. These things came from shared experiences, the need for quick, contextual communication within those communities.
So if you were hanging out in those early chat rooms, you'd find this whole vocabulary just bubbling up organically, like ASL.
Age, sex, location, the holy trinity of early chat.
Right. Super rapid-fire way to get basic info, driven by anonymity and just directness.
And AFK, away from keyboard. Crucial, like BRB for managing those conversations.
Yeah, and TMI, too much information, a polite little boundary setter.
Definitely needed sometimes. And GTG, gotta go for a quick exit. It was all about speed, context, that sort of minimalist clarity.
And then later, as more people got online in the 2000s, things like NSFW, not safe for work, became really important, almost like an ethical warning label.
Yeah, showing that growing awareness of public versus private spaces online. You couldn't just assume everyone was alone when they were reading your message.
It makes total sense. The medium really does shape the message. Early internet was text-heavy, often slow, so brevity won. Constraints bred creativity.
Exactly. But, of all these early terms, maybe none is as everywhere or as, nuanced in how it's evolved as LOL.
Ah, yes, the legend, LOL. Laughing out loud. Apparently first used way back, maybe early to mid-'80s, by someone named Wayne Pearson in a pre-internet chat system called Viewline. He used it for extreme laughter instead of just typing haha over and over.
Right, but the first sort of recorded use, meaning the OED tracked it down, was in a 1989 online newsletter. So yeah, it's been around a long, long time, evolving right under our noses.
And this is where it gets really interesting, the deeper meaning, right? It's not always literal laughter anymore.
Not at all. Linguist John McWhorter has this great perspective on it. He argues that LOL today functions less as literal laughter and more as a, a pragmatic particle.
Okay. What does that mean?
Think of it like filler words or little conversational cues like, I don't know. Or maybe when someone's thinking, LOL now often works to kind of soften things.
Soften things.
Yeah, like alleviate awkwardness or lighten the tone in a casual chat. It signals empathy, accommodation. It's like a social lubricant, a way to say, hey, I'm being friendly here more than I am actually laughing right now.
Okay, give me an example.
Like if I text you, stuck in traffic, LOL. I'm not actually laughing, right? It's miserable. But the LOL kind of takes the edge off the complaint, makes it sound less like I'm just dumping my negativity on you.
That makes perfect sense. I do that all the time without thinking about it. It's not a real guffaw.
Exactly. And that subtle shift, that evolution in meaning, that's definitely where misunderstandings can happen, as our sources point out.
Yeah.
Abbreviations can be, quote, often misunderstood or difficult to decipher if you don't know the specific meaning or the nuance. Like, apparently LOL was sometimes mistaken for lots of love.
Oh, wow. That could be awkward.
Very. And maybe still is sometimes. And ROFL, rolling on the floor laughing. That's not immediately obvious either if you haven't encountered it before. The letters alone don't give it away.
True. So this challenge of figuring out shorthand isn't just an English thing, is it?
Not at all.
Hmm.
It's fascinating, actually. You see other languages developing their own text-based laughter equivalents. It shows this universal human need for quick, written, emotional expression.
Like what?
Well, in Thai, people use 555 because the number 5 is pronounced ha. So 555 sounds like ha-ha,
A cover?
isn't it? In Brazilian Portuguese, you see k-a-k a lot. The K sounds like ka, so it's like ka-ka-ka. And in Korean, it's often ukk, mimicking chuckling.
Oh, yeah.
It just shows different languages, different scripts, but the same impulse. Find a quick way to type laughter. It's a universal digital thing.
Okay, so that covers how some older terms got a new life online and how early internet slang developed. But what happens when a whole generation basically grows up online, constantly innovating?
Ah, yes. That takes us right into the world of Generation Z and what our sources are calling the slang revolution.
Ooh, sounds dramatic.
Well, it kind of is, because if you think LOL feels a bit dated now, just wait till you hear what's happening with Gen Z language and why it actually matters quite a bit.
All right, I'm ready. Tell me about Gen Z.
Okay, so what's really clear from the research is that Generation Z, generally, folks born between 97 and 2012, they are absolutely at the forefront of adopting and, importantly, creating slang.
More than other generations.
Significantly more, according to the studies. And get this, a huge number, 89% of Americans, say they learn new slang directly from the internet and social media.
89%. Wow, that's almost everyone.
It's a massive shift in how language spreads and how we learn it. It's not just trickling down anymore, it's exploding online.
But it's not just random words, right? There's a point to slang.
Exactly. The analysis points out that slang works as this powerful marker of belonging. It creates an in-group language, strengthens bonds, expresses a shared identity.
And keeps outsiders out, maybe.
Sometimes, yeah. It can definitely signal attitudes towards outsiders. And it's also got this fascinating cyclical thing going on.
How so?
It often recycles or revives terms from older generations, maybe gives them a twist, a new meaning for today. So it's this constant dance between inventing new stuff and bringing back old stuff. Innovation and revival happening simultaneously.
And social media is ground zero for all this.
It's the main catalyst, absolutely. Platforms like Instagram, and especially TikTok, are just pivotal in making new terms blow up. We saw it happen so clearly during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, like the Rona.
Exactly. The Rona for coronavirus or Zoom fatigue, those came directly out of that shared global experience, spread instantly online. And more recently, words like delulu.
Delulu.
Short for delusional, often used kind of humorously, like someone having unrealistic hopes or dreams. Or cooked.
Meaning done.
Yeah, like exhausted, overwhelmed, finished. Those just took off super fast through viral videos, memes, you name it.
The speed is just incredible.
It really is.
Yeah.
One observer pointed out that social media makes slang spread faster than ever before.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right? Volume, speed.
Yeah. But there's a downside.
Well, the paradox is it might also cause terms to die out quicker. Because attention spans are shorter, people are always moving on to the next video, the next trend.
Ah, the churn.
Exactly, the linguistic churn. But then again, some terms really stick, like slay.
Okay, yeah, hear that one a lot. Meaning doing something really well or looking amazing.
Precisely. And that one's had remarkable staying power. It's persisted for like a year or more, which in internet time is basically an eternity. It shows it has real utility, real resonance. It's not just fleeting.
It's like some things catch on and become part of the furniture while others are just flashes in the pan.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But this brings us to a really important and sometimes tricky conversation. The cultural origins of a lot of this popular slang.
Okay.
Specifically, its deep roots in African American Vernacular English,
Yeah.
or AAVE.
Ah, right. I've heard about this.
Yeah, a significant chunk of the most popular Gen Z terms, including Riz.
Oxford's Word of the Year for 2023. Right. From charisma. Meaning like Charm, flirting skill.
Exactly, that one. Also cap, meaning a lie, or no cap for no lie. And slay, which we just mentioned. These aren't random teenage inventions. They have deep roots in AAVE and often within Black and queer communities, sometimes going back decades.
And the issue is that origin often gets lost.
That's the frustration, yeah.
Yeah.
One anonymous student quoted in the sources put it really clearly. They said, TikTok and other social media popularized these terms and have turned them into universal vernacular when it's supposed to be African-American vernacular. And they stress how frustrating it is when no one knows where these words come from, and people just assume some random teenagers just came up with it when really Black people and queer people have been using these words for decades.
So there's a tension there. Language naturally spreads and evolves.
Right.
But there's also this ethical piece about acknowledging the source, especially when it's from communities whose contributions often get overlooked or, appropriated without credit.
Exactly. And what this really highlights for you, the listener, is that constant push and pull. Language connects us universally, but it's also a powerful marker of specific cultural identity. When you take language out of its original context, especially from historically marginalized groups, you risk losing that understanding, that appreciation for the real linguistic and cultural innovators. Acknowledging roots, that's really essential for a well-informed, respectful understanding of how language actually works in a diverse world.
It's a crucial point. It goes way beyond just knowing the definition. And this whole dynamic, it naturally creates these generational divides, right? Which can be, well, kind of funny sometimes.
Definitely amusing. There's a history teacher, Nicholas Graham, who argues that generational slang is often an act of rebellion. Younger groups use it to mark itself off from other groups, create their own space.
Makes sense.
And his take is, therefore, older generations should not be adopting it because they'll just come off as a bit of an idiot trying too hard,
Haha. Yeah, you can see that. And the sources had some funny examples of this, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. There was a sophomore who found it amusing yet unnatural when her theology teacher, who was kind of old, described his outfit as
Skibidi.
skibidi.
Skibidi. We'll get to that later, but yeah, that's an image.
Definitely an image. And another one. A parent hearing their own grandmother saying something was sus. Like, man, this is just pretty sus.
Grandma saying sus. That's amazing. It perfectly captures that generational clash, that moment of delightful cringe.
Totally. But it also shows how fast these terms, even really niche ones, can actually filter through different age groups, often with, unintended comedic results.
It really does. But what's also interesting is how Gen Z themselves manage all this. They don't just talk one way, right?
Not at all. There's a great example from an Archer sophomore, Serenity Jones. She consciously talks about how she code switches.
Code switching? Meaning?
Meaning she changes how she speaks depending on the situation.
Yeah.
So she'll use informal slang like Loki for Loki or even LMFAO in like annotations for school or texts with friends in casual settings.
Okay.
But when she's talking to teachers or faculty, she shifts to a more lively and more professional cadence. It shows this incredible adaptability, this linguistic intelligence.
Yeah, it's not just one language. It's like mastering a whole spectrum of styles depending on who you're talking to. That's pretty sophisticated.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Shows a real awareness of social context and audience.
Yeah.
And that adaptability, it's heavily influenced by the platforms themselves. Which brings us to how social media, more broadly, is acting as this huge linguistic catalyst, changing way more than just slang.
Right. Let's broaden out then. Social media as a genuine linguistic catalyst. Because it's done more than just introduce new slang, hasn't it? It's really reshaped the whole communication landscape.
Oh, completely. These platforms aren't just places to share vacation photos. They are, as the sources say, literal breeding grounds for new words, new phrases that pop up and spread incredibly fast. And they directly mirror what's happening in culture, current trends, societal shifts.
Yeah, think about selfie.
Perfect example.
A self-portrait with a smartphone, shared online. It wasn't just a word. It reflected this huge cultural shift towards documenting ourselves, curating our online identity.
Exactly, or ghosting.
Ugh. Yeah. Suddenly cutting off contact, especially in dating, no explanation.
That term basically named a whole new modern relationship challenge, right?
Right.
Something that really only exists because it's so easy to just disappear digitally.
True. And viral. That word itself describes the phenomenon, content spreading like crazy online. It's become a core concept of the internet age.
And the speed, the immediacy, and just the global reach of social media, it's like nothing before. New terms, new ideas, they get adopted almost instantly by millions, billions of people. It's like watching language evolve and fast forward. reacting to culture in real time.
And it's not just the words, is it? It's changing grammar, too. Syntax.
Yeah, profoundly. Think about early Twitter, the character limits. That kind of constraint really forced brevity and creativity and expression.
You had to get your point across fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which often led to simplified grammar, simplified syntax, almost like a written shorthand that values speed over perfect sentences.
You see it in sentence fragments all the time.
Totally. People favor fragments because they're quick, efficient, and they actually mimic how we talk naturally. So instead of writing, "I'm so tired after a long day at work," you see, "So tired, long day."
More immediate.
Yeah, it blurs that line between formal writing and casual speech.
Yeah.
Makes it feel more direct, more conversational, almost like thoughts typed out as they happen.
And punctuation's gone wild, too.
Oh, yeah. A whole new world. Unconventional capitalization to emphasize particular words like, "I can't even."
Yep.
Right. The caps, the multiple exclamation points, they convey that heightened emotion, that disbelief. Or using slashes and dashes instead of commas or periods to connect thoughts quickly. "Love this, so cool." Or "dinner movie later."
Yeah, it's faster.
It is. It promotes immediacy, directness, more emotional expression. And you could argue, by loosening the grip of rigid formal grammar, it actually makes language more inclusive. It welcomes voices that might not stick to traditional rules.
That's a really interesting point. And then there's the whole visual side. Emojis, GIFs.
Huge. They're not just fun add-ons anymore, are they? They're integral. They carry real communicative weight.
Sometimes more than words.
Absolutely. They function as visual extensions of language, like a digital paralanguage.
Yeah.
They convey emotions, tone, nuance, complex reactions, things that might be clunky or time-consuming to write out.
Yeah, a single say can mean so many things.
Exactly. Or a perfectly timed GIF can be the whole punchline. It's this blend of visual and verbal that's fundamentally reshaping how language is understood and used. Adding layers of meaning text alone just doesn't have.
And social media's global reach means language itself is going global like never before.
Totally transcends borders.
Yes,
You've got
yeah.
interactions happening constantly between people from vastly different linguistic backgrounds. Content goes viral in one country, and suddenly people all over the world speaking different languages are watching it, commenting on it.
Which leads to?
Well, it really promotes code switching. That's when you switch between languages or dialects within a single conversation, even a single sentence sometimes. And it also leads to these hybrid forms of communication. Think Spanish and English blended together, common in the Americas. Or Hinglish, Hindi and English mixed, common in India.
They're like entirely new dialects emerging.
In a way, yeah, they're not just random mixes. They reflect this dynamic interplay of cultures and languages, all sped up by global connection. It's enriching communication, creating new identities, new ways to express yourself. It's this amazing, evolving mosaic.
So, with all this change, new words, shifting grammar, visuals, global mixing, the big question comes up. Is this good or bad? Progress or peril?
Right. And there are definitely critics. Our sources mention concerns that this super fast pace might lead to misunderstandings, especially between generations or different dialect speakers. Or that it could erode standards in formal settings, like academic writing or legal stuff, where precision is key.
That seems like a valid worry. How do you ensure everyone's on the same page?
It's a real challenge. Bridging those gaps, ensuring common understanding, that's crucial. But the sources also push back strongly against the idea that this is purely negative.
Okay.
They argue that social media, far from being some kind of threat, is actually a powerful force driving contemporary language evolution. It fosters creativity and adaptability in ways we couldn't have imagined before.
And crucially,
It gives a platform to marginalized voices. Linguistic innovations that might have stayed local before can now reach a global audience. In a way, it's democratizing language, making it more fluid, more responsive, maybe more inclusive than traditional media ever allowed. It's showing language doing what it always does: adapting, changing, embracing the new.
Okay, that's a compelling counterargument. It's not decay, it's dynamism.
Exactly. Now, from that broad evolution, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about a very specific, but incredibly important type of digital language. The language of cybersecurity.
Ah, the jargon. Tech speak.
Right. And understanding this stuff, it's not just for the IT crowd anymore. It is absolutely crucial for your personal safety, for navigating the digital world securely every single day.
Yeah, this feels really practical, really vital.
It is, because the threats out there, They're constantly changing, getting smarter, more pervasive. And the stats are pretty sobering. Sources say around 58% of adults are more worried than ever about falling victim to cybercrime.
That's a lot of worry.
It is. But here's the disconnect. Despite the worry, many people still lack the fundamental knowledge needed to prevent it. And that knowledge gap, that's a huge vulnerability that criminals are more than happy to exploit. You just can't protect yourself from something you don't understand.
Like deepfakes. We hear about them, people are worried.
Hugely worried. 85% of U.S. residents, apparently. These AI-generated fake videos, audio, images that look incredibly real.
Terrifying potential.
Absolutely. But even with that high level of worry, many people don't fully grasp the risks. How they can be used for fraud, spreading disinformation, ruining reputations. If you don't understand how they work, how to spot potential fakes, you're just much more vulnerable to being tricked or manipulated. It's not enough to just know the word. You need the context.
And even basic stuff, everyday terms.
Yeah, like spyware. Knowing that means malicious software secretly watching what you do, keystrokes, browsing, data, or phishing.
Those fake emails or websites trying to steal your passwords or credit card info.
Exactly. Knowing those terms helps you spot and avoid really common threats. But even so, phishing is still huge, makes up almost 40% of all email attacks. So understanding the jargon is basically your first line of defense.
Okay, let's break some of these down then. Decode the essentials people really need to know. First up, VPN, virtual private network. Hear about them constantly, see the ads. But what is it, really?
Right. Think of a VPN like this. It creates a private, encrypted tunnel for your internet traffic.
Okay, a tunnel.
Yeah. Instead of your data going straight from your device to a website, it goes through the VPN server first. That server encrypts it, hides your real IP address, masks your location. So all your online activity travels through this secure tunnel, shielded from prying eyes.
Like who?
Like your internet provider, advertisers, maybe government agencies, hackers on public Wi-Fi. It makes it much harder for anyone to track what you're doing online. It's a key tool for privacy.
But not everyone uses them.
Shockingly few, actually. Only about 42% of U.S. users, which means 58% either don't use them or, maybe worse, just don't understand what they are or why they should. That's a massive gap in basic digital literacy we need to fix.
Wow. Okay, next one. DDoS, distributed denial of service. Sounds complicated.
The name does, but the concept is actually pretty simple. Think of it like a digital traffic jam.
A traffic jam.
Yeah, or like a mob trying to push through one door all at once. A DDoS attack floods a website or online service with just an overwhelming amount of fake traffic, usually from thousands of compromised computers, a botnet.
So real users can't get through.
Exactly. The server gets overwhelmed and the service becomes inaccessible. Hackers use it to disrupt businesses, extort money, or just cause chaos.
Nasty stuff. Okay, deepfakes again, just to be clear.
Right. AI-powered fakes images, video, audio that look unsettlingly real, making it seem like someone said or did something they never did. Huge potential for misinformation, fraud, harassment. They really challenge our trust in what we see and hear online.
Got it. Now, something protective. Antivirus software.
Your digital security guard. That's a good analogy from the sources.
Okay.
It's software that constantly patrols your computer or phone, scanning files, downloads, programs, looking for suspicious code, known viruses, malicious patterns.
And if it finds something...
It blocks it, quarantines it, removes it.
Right.
Protects you from viruses, worms, ransomware trying to lock your files. It's your automated front line. Essential.
And authentication. How we prove who we are online.
Exactly. The bouncer at the club. That's the analogy. It's the process of verifying your identity before you get access.
Passwords.
Passwords, fingerprints, face scans, security questions, two-factor codes. Strong authentication keeps the wrong people out of your accounts. Without it, you're wide open.
Okay. And then malware. That's a big one.
It's the umbrella term. Malicious software. Think of it as a thief hiding in plain sight, or like a digital disease.
So it covers lots of things.
Yeah. Viruses, spyware, ransomware, the stuff that encrypts your files and demands money, Trojans that disguise themselves as good software, all designed to harm your device, steal your info, or give hackers access, often hidden in dodgy emails, downloads, websites. Very sneaky.
And those scam attempts, phishing, smishing, spear phishing, what's the difference again?
Okay, phishing is the broad term. Generic fake emails or website trying to trick anyone into giving up info, casting a wide net.
Right.
Smishing is the same idea,
Yeah.
but via SMS text messages, often pretending to be your bank or Amazon or the IRS.
Ugh, I get those.
Yeah, they're common. But spear phishing, that's the really dangerous one.
Why is that?
Because it's highly targeted. Hackers research a specific person or organization. They use personal details, your job, colleagues' names, recent projects, maybe even hobbies, to make the fake message incredibly convincing.
Much harder to spot.
Way harder. It looks legitimate because it uses information they know about you. It bypasses generic filters. It's like a sniper attack versus a shotgun blast.
Yeah.
Very effective, very dangerous.
It's also kind of amazing how tech has just taken over common words, giving them totally new meanings.
Oh yeah. Cloud isn't just in the sky anymore. It's cloud computing, data storage.
Tablet isn't just medicine.
Right, it's a device. And catfish, not just a fish.
No. Someone faking an identity online, usually for romance or money. There are whole TV shows about it.
Exactly. It shows how deep tech language runs now. But also why you have to keep up. These aren't just abstract terms. They have real-world impact.
But there's a gap, isn't there, in how confident people feel about this stuff, especially across generations.
Huge gap. Younger folks, 18 to 29, generally know more about cybersecurity, having grown up with it. But even then, only about 3 in 10 feel truly confident they can spot threats and protect themselves.
Only 3 in 10? That's surprisingly low for digital natives.
It really is. Suggests exposure doesn't automatically equal competence or confidence, and that confidence drops off sharply with age.
How sharply?
Only 2 in 10 adults aged 30-39 feel knowledgeable, and for those 65 or older, just 1 in 10 feels confident about data privacy and cybersecurity.
Wow. That's worrying, because older people are often targeted more, aren't they?
Frequently. So that disparity isn't just about tech comfort. It translates directly into real-world vulnerability.
So bringing this back to you, our listener, what's the takeaway?
The takeaway is that understanding this technical language, this cybersecurity jargon, it's not optional anymore. It's not just for geeks. It is a fundamental life skill.
Like reading or balancing a checkbook used to be.
Exactly. It's essential modern literacy for navigating our digital world safely. Closing that knowledge gap, that's crucial for everyone, regardless of age, to protect themselves, their data, their families online. It really is about empowerment through understanding.
Definitely a shared responsibility. Okay, so we've gone from historical slang to Gen Z innovations to vital cybersecurity terms. Now, let's pivot to something completely different, but equally fascinating as a digital phenomenon.
I think I know where you're going.
Let's talk about Skibidi toilet.
Oh boy, here we go. The cultural phenomenon that has captivated and utterly baffled millions.
Right. If you haven't heard of it, well, you're probably not Gen Alpha or hanging out with them. This thing is huge. It's this bizarre YouTube series.
Created by an animator, Alexei Gerasimov, channel name defu.boom. First video dropped early 2023. And it's made using Source Filmmaker.
Yeah, the tool used for making videos with game assets, like from Half-Life, which explains some of the look.
And its cultural impact, even though it seems completely nonsensical to many adults, is actually pretty significant.
How so?
It's widely credited with really influencing, maybe even cementing, modern internet culture into the short-form brain rot content that defines it today.
Brain rot content. That sounds bad.
It's definitely a loaded term. But refers to this super fast-paced, constantly stimulating, often absurd video style that just hooks you, demanding minimal attention span. Skibidi's toilet didn't just join that trend, it amplified it, maybe even helped create the massive demand for it. Its content perfectly engineered for the TikTok brain.
And Gen Alpha, the kids younger than Gen Z, they're the main audience.
They are the core demographic. The oldest were maybe 13 when it started. They've grown up immersed in this stuff. They drive the views, and they, in turn, influence creators everywhere to make content like this. Faster, weirder, more engaging, second by second.
It's his feedback loop.
But parents, adults, they're not loving it.
Generally, no. The perception is overwhelmingly negative among many adults. You hear descriptions like it's brain-rotted thousands of kids, real concern about its effect on developing minds.
A moral panic, the sources called it. Yeah, a genuine moral panic in some circles. Warnings about Skibidi toilet syndrome on parenting sites. Even, apparently, investigations by authorities in places like Russia over its supposed detrimental effect.
Yeah.
People are taking it seriously, even if they don't understand it.
Which makes that story about the theology teacher describing his outfit as Skibidi even funnier and more awkward.
Exactly. It highlights that massive cultural gap. When older generations try to adopt the slang, especially from something seen as so weird or controversial, it just lands wrong.
Yeah.
It's a comedic misfire because the context and understanding just aren't there.
So why? Why is it so popular? What is the appeal, given the weirdness and the negativity?
Well, part of it is undeniably the catchy song, that viral TikTok remix of Dom Dom, yes? An earworm? Combine that with the central image,
Yeah.
these grotesque, unsettling human heads sticking out of toilets, often stained.
That's
Memorable.
understatement.
The creator said it came from a recurring nightmare. And one source described it as an image that stains the brain like a cigarette burn. It's just viscerally unforgettable. It grabs you, whether you like it or not.
But it's not just a weird image in a song, is it? There's more.
Surprisingly, yes. This is where it gets complex. Despite the absurd premise, Skibidi Toilet develops this ongoing, elaborate narrative.
A whole?
A war.
A war between the toilet heads and...
And an army of mechanical guys with cameras, speakers, and TVs for heads, the cameramen, speakermen, TV men.
Okay.
And it often shifts perspective, like a first-person shooter game. It visually references games like Half-Life and Garry's Mod, which makes sense given the animation tool.
So there's actual plot.
Conflict.
Loads of it. The toilets are portrayed as this invasive alien species or a virus, constantly multiplying, spreading. The conflict is pretty dark, nihilistic even. Cities get destroyed, battles are brutal, and the toilets are weirdly resourceful. They reuse broken parts from their enemies to upgrade themselves into new, even more grotesque forms.
Wow. And the fans are into this lore. Oh, totally. They develop intricate theories. Like maybe the toilets communicate only through the song, maybe they spread like a virus via sound. One really popular theory sees the whole war as a metaphor.
A metaphor for what?
For the battle between traditional media, the camera, speaker, TV guys, and this new wave of weird, absurd, chaotic internet content embodied by the brain-rotting toilets themselves.
Whoa. Okay, that adds a whole other layer.
Right, when you start looking at it like the narrative, the fan theories, the potential symbolism, it becomes less random. Maybe still bizarre, but less purely nonsensical.
So maybe it's not that different from the cartoons we grew up with, like He-Man or Transformers, just weirder and more internet native.
That's a great way to think about it. The core appeal of an ongoing conflict, good versus evil, or maybe weird versus weirder, isn't fundamentally new. Skibidi Toilet just presents it in this hyper-modern, unsettlingly absurd style that clicks with a generation raised online. It speaks their visual language.
And the impact on Gen Alpha's media habits and what gets made now,
Yeah.
it's huge.
Profound. It's a massively successful and very online phenomenon. Millions of YouTube subscribers. Billions of TikTok views. It shows this intuitive grasp of internet culture, short-form video, platform trends that, frankly, a lot of traditional media is still struggling to figure out.
It's kind of taken over, hasn't it? The memes, the fan stuff.
Completely colonized the rest of the internet, as one source put it. Memes, games, fan art, endless variations. It's become a genuine cultural touchstone for that whole demographic.
And here's the provocative thought you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Despite all the brain rot talk now, despite the moral panic, it's highly likely that someday Gen Alpha will be nostalgic for it.
Just like we are about our weird 80s cartoons.
Exactly. They'll look back on Skibidi Toilet, maybe ironically, maybe fondly, but it will be their thing, their weird childhood memory. It just shows how fast cultural norms shift, how what's considered good or bad content evolves constantly in the digital age. What seems bizarre now becomes treasured later.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it? How fluid culture and language really are. Always adapting, absorbing, reflecting the world, no matter how strange that world gets.
Absolutely. They're living things.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly recap that main thread, that central theme we've been pulling on. Language isn't static. It's not fixed rules in a book. It's this dynamic, living entity. And the internet, social media, they haven't just added some new words. They've fundamentally sped up and reshaped how we communicate, how we connect, how we even understand our world.
Yeah, from tracking down the surprising origins of LOL or FYI
Way back.
to unpacking the complex cultural meanings in Gen Z slang like Riz or trying to make sense of a phenomenon like Skibidi Toilet.
And realizing the absolutely vital, maybe even life-saving importance of understanding cybersecurity jargon.
Exactly. Through all of it, we see language in constant motion, mirroring our digital lives.
And this evolution, it's just a reflection of our changing society, our changing tech. It brings challenges, sure, like generational misunderstandings or those ethical questions about language origin.
Definitely challenges.
Yeah.
But also incredible opportunities, right?
Yeah.
New ways to express ourselves, like with emojis and GIFs. Unprecedented global connections, and even the chance for better safety online if we can communicate the risks clearly.
Absolutely. So, as we all continue to live and work and connect in this digital world, maybe the final thought is this. really paying attention to and trying to understand these evolving forms of language. It's not just about staying trendy or decoding slang.
Yep, it's deeper than that.
It's about building better bridges between generations, between cultures. It's about having more inclusive, more respectful conversations. And ultimately, it's about how we collectively shape our future in this incredibly connected world. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What new words of the year are coming next? What fundamental shifts in how we live and talk are they going to capture?